Some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Top Secret America. That's the title of an explosive investigative series published in the Washington Post this morning that's already creating a firestorm on Capitol Hill. It starts, quote, "The top secret world the government created in response to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 has become so large, so unwieldy, and so secretive that no one knows how much money it costs, how many people it employs, how many programs exist within it, or exactly how many agencies do the same work." Some of the findings of the two-year investigation include more than 1,200 government organizations and nearly 2,000 private companies work on programs related to counterterrorism, homeland security, and intelligence in about 10,000 locations across the United States. An estimated 854,000 people, nearly 1.5 times as many as live in Washington, D.C., hold top-secret security clearances. Many security and intelligence agencies do the same work, creating redundancy and waste. The series by Washington Post reporters Dana Priest and Bill Arkin includes an online searchable database and locator map. PBS Frontline is producing an hour-long documentary on the investigation that'll run in October. This is its trailer.
You think you know America, but you don't know top secret America. We're all aware that there are 3 branches of government in the United States. But in response to 9/11, a 4th branch has emerged. It is protected from public scrutiny by extraordinary secrecy. Top secret America.
This is a closed community, and since 9/11, it's become even more so.
The money spigot was just opened after 9/11, and nobody dared say, I don't think we should be spending that much.
It has become so big, and the lines of responsibility are so blurred that even our nation's leaders don't have a handle on it. Where is it? It's being built from coast to coast, hidden within some of America's most familiar cities and neighborhoods. In Colorado, in Nebraska, in Texas, in Florida, in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Top Secret America includes hundreds of federal departments and agencies operating out of 1,300 facilities around this country. They contract the services of nearly 2,000 companies. In all, more people than live in our nation's capital have top secret security clearance.
It's, again, the size, the lack of transparency, and the cost. And if we don't get it right, the consequences are gigantic.
That was Washington Post writer Dana Priest, the trailer from the upcoming PBS Frontline documentary on Top Secret America that features Priest and Bill Arkin. The investigative series is already creating waves in the intelligence community. More than 2 weeks ago, the Director of Communications for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Art House, sent a memo to public affairs officers in the intelligence community warning about the series. He wrote, quote, "This series has been a long time in preparation and looks designed to cast the intelligence community and the Department of Defense in an unfavorable light. We need to anticipate and prepare so that the good work of our respective organizations is effectively reflected in communications with employees, secondary coverage in the media, and in response to questions," he wrote. Well, Bill Arkin is the co-author of the piece. He's joining us now from the offices of the Washington Post in Washington, D.C. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Bill. Why don't you first lay out the scope of this series and why you started this 2 years ago?
Well, 2 years ago, Dana and I got together, and we were actually just talking to each other about various things that we were working on, and we realized very quickly that we were looking at something that was very similar and that we had both detected in our long years of work in the national security world that something had been created since 9/11 that wasn't normal, that wasn't on the books, that looked like it was a gigantic superstructure on top of regular government. And we started our investigation to try to figure out what it is that we were looking at, and here we are 2 years later revealing our conclusions.
Talk about what those conclusions are. What did you find, Bill?
Well, really the most significant thing that we've found, Amy, is not that the intelligence community or the vast homeland security apparatus does work in this field, and that they are engaged in counterterrorism. Really, the most significant finding to me is the number of private companies in America who have been enlisted in the war on terrorism and who have now become an intrinsic part of government. Really where the line is blurred between government and private sector. And the fact that there are almost 2,000 companies that do top secret work for the intelligence community and the military is not only surprising to me as someone who actually put together the data, but it really asks some fundamental questions about the nature of government and the nature of accountability.
Talk about these 2,000 companies.
Well, you know, it's funny. We think of the military-industrial complex in this sort of old-fashioned way still. In fact, we don't even have an appropriate word to describe what this enterprise is today, and we've struggled ourselves to try to figure that out. You know, the military-industrial complex of the Eisenhower era was one that produced massive amounts of capital goods for the military: bombers, missiles, nuclear weapons, etc. But today's national security establishment really values information technology more than it values weapons. And one of the things that was most surprising to us, but maybe not so surprising given the nature of society, is that half of the companies in this particular area are really IT companies, information technology companies, and support companies. The domination of this world of top-secret contractors over the traditional world of the military-industrial complex is huge. And we see very clearly that the mega corporations, which have always been the powerhouses in the defense industry, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, they are moving more and more of their business from production to the provision of services. That is, providing staffing for the government. And so what you see is that we are increasingly a national security establishment that's producing paper rather than producing weapons. And the question is, with the production of all of that paper, whether or not we have either an effective counterterrorism operation or whether or not we're even safer.
So what about the privatization of top secret information, or the people around the country who have access to top secret information, especially when they're working in a private corporation?
Now, one thing that we found in the evidence, Amy, is that people who are in business are in business. I'm not going to say that they're not good Americans any less than we are, but it seems to me that their fundamental mission is to make money for their businesses. And that is not the same as being a public servant. And as you can see from our articles, we have quotes from all of the principals involved on the record: Secretary Gates, Leon Panetta, the CIA director, the Director of Defense Intelligence, and the former Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Blair, essentially agreeing with us that this crazy, out-of-control system accreted after 9/11, and here 2 years into the Obama administration, it is essentially in the same form that it was when the Bush administration left office. But there is something fundamentally wrong in America if you have people who are working in a for-profit environment, caring for our national security, and engaged in what we consider to be the inherent functions of government.
I mean, it is amazing that there are more people who have top security clearance in this country than live in Washington, D.C., more than 850,000 people.
Well, it is. It's a good comparison, but I also think that what we find is that more and more Washington is not just the hub of government, but it is also the hub of this sort of intelligence information enterprise. You see